Yeah, this week is the parsha of the Big Day Kahuna. The Big Day Kahuna are ma'akiv. The Kihuna without Big Day Kahuna, he's not a total Kohen. There's something missing in his Kahuna. The Chovid Sefaris, it says. The purpose is L'Kovid Sefaris. Also Big Day Aaron L'Chovid Sefaris. The begodim are for who's Teferis, the Teferis, and the Kovid of Aaron. If he doesn't have the begodim that make him a mechubed, then there's something lacking in his kuna. It's coming into the Beis Hamikdash. Makav Karbonis. He's got to have those begodim that are for his kovid and his teferis in order that he be a real coin. Pashut pshat.
I did have a hard time growing up.
He has to have the in order to come in order to come into avoda, he's got to come in an ofen mechubed, in a way that is a nichbod. That's part of his kuhun. That's in Pashta Dikra. The Svarim HaKadoshim speak of begodim as midas. And the remez is umido bad. Begodim are midas. And the idea is that, of course, he puts on the begodim, he has to become a nichbad. He's got to become a nichbad in his whole mahus, in his whole self. What, you think just anybody can come in? Just anyone can be makriv? It's got to be a nichbad. I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing this up with with a chabura that is dedicated to Kiddush Shem Shemayim, whose lives are dedicated to Kiddush Shem Shemayim, where the lives are all, everything's B'Siras Nefesh for Kiddush Hashem. I think there's a parallel to the kahuna here. And there's got to be a nichbadus in terms of midas. We have to learn to be patient. We have to learn not to be angry. We certainly have to learn not to be selfish. We have to learn not to be petty. We have to be mechubed. If he's settled, thought out, happy, everything one would expect of a real nichbad. Atzilus. Both in terms of, first of all, what we're talking about now, you're part of Hashem's army. As such, we have to maintain our stature. A negative word can never be heard from us. Second, which is a whole different parsha. If we're supposed to be representing the Dvar Hashem to the masses, then we have to do that accurately. We cannot present ourselves in a way that is any less than mechubed. Or we're not being true to that which we represent. Have to elevate it. You can be accused, you can be insulted. You don't answer back. You don't answer back. You don't get pulled into the mud with them. Maintain your stature. It's a mechayah for us. It's a mechayah for us. If we're living with Mesiris Nefesh for Kiddush Shem Shemayim, we can't demand of ourselves a whole different level of hanhaga, of machshava. Be'adam lachavero in general. Be'adam la'atzmo certainly. Integrity. Integrity. Integrity is a beged. It's lacking in our kahuna. If we don't maintain integrity. All right, I think the message is clear. So if I understood correctly, there's no other presentation. Chaim is speaking, but is on mute.
I'm sorry, I didn't. I'll try to do this better next time.
Okay, since you're apologizing, first of all, I have to say a word about last week. It was an absolutely crazy situation. I really feel very bad. I was trying to make all arrangements to be able to be able to keep it, but I just was not able to. We had some major technical difficulties here. Emir Sashem.
Right, Berkowitz, there was a branch that was supposed to present last week, but it's since closed down.
Okay, all right. So let's go on. The questions. In the interest of Kiruv, should we be makel to have our wives and daughters sing Zmiris as a group at the Shabbos table? Should we rely on the kol group singing is okay? I don't think it's fair to do that to your wives and children. You know, in terms of relying on the kula, we certainly do in terms of Kiruv situations. Or perhaps a different heter, which we find in the Mishnah Berurah actually, the heter of Eis Lasas Lashem. He talks about, and this is an old shaila from the early days of the intercity trains, where people would travel for days, and in December, the women were singing carols on the trains, which meant that you couldn't daven, you couldn't learn. And the Mishnah Berurah brings it down lahalacha. That we say Eis Lasas Lashem, and we're docha the Isur Rabbanon of davening when there's Kol Isha, let alone listening to it, but davening when there's Kol Isha, learning when there's Kol Isha. He's talking about learning in particular. Because Eis Lasas, so what are you going to do there? Spend 3 days on the train doing what? So if you matter that, in order not to waste 3 days, because of Eis Lasis, you can certainly be matrid for the sake of being Makar of Eden. But in terms of subjecting your wife and children to that, why? Why? I don't think it's fair to them. For your children, although the the whole idea of kiruv is a wonderful chinuch. Bring your kids up with a feeling of achrayus to Klal Yisrael, getting to know all kinds of different people and seeing them come to you for the sake of getting their Yiddishkeit. That's that's a wonderful chinuch, but at the same time, to mechanech your daughters to sing at the table when there are strange men there, I don't think is right. Yeah, the comment here is to make others comfortable, possibly. I understand that was what they had in mind. That's what the question had in mind. But I don't think it's fair to make your daughters and your wife, do that. And yes, when you plan your Shabbos and you're going to have guests and it's a kiruv table, you're going to have to make sure that you have people around that can sing. Okay, number 2. There's been an interest expressed in using the services of the Yotzot, initiative of Orthodox women trained to handle advice on halachic queries related to Taras Mishpacha. I don't know about elsewhere, but in Toronto, they seem to be affiliated with Bnei Akiva movement. Yeah. So the question is, the halachic compatibility is a good idea to use them for curative purposes, etc. Would it be wiser and wise to make them a mainstream part of the shul, or to utilize them for a one-off lecture which might draw women to learn about the topic, or otherwise would not approach a rabbi? I believe a large percentage of the Rebbitzins already filled that role. The concept of a yoetzet, on the one hand, is very good. Women definitely feel a lot more comfortable speaking to a woman, and I think that's a wonderful thing. It should be. On the other hand, there's a lot more to psak halacha than just memorizing a lot of laws. It is complicated. It means learning sugyas and knowing them well. We don't know that, although, first of all, it has to be very clear. It is mutter for a woman to paskin. There's a difference between hara and din. Paskin Yoreh Deah is not paskin Choshen Mishpat. Choshen Mishpat is din. Din, there are halachas of who can be a dayan. Paskin Yisur V'Heter is anybody that knows a woman is not puzzled for paskin Yisur V'Heter. Taras Mishpacha goes under Yisur V'Heter, all of Yoreh Deah. So it's mutter. The question is, will she do it properly? Currently, all of the training programs that I'm aware of are under the auspices of, what should I say, the less stark streams of Judaism. The women are coming away with facts. I'll even add something. I wouldn't recommend people going to the men that go through such programs. They've got a funny hashkaf of what constitutes a source to rely on and so on. The concept of learning up a sugya and finding the emes, as well as the various minhagi apsak that we have over the generations, is something that's a bit foreign to them. Therefore, I would not advise it. The other thing is that it has become something like part of some kind of I guess that feminist side of the same places as the women wanting a more active role within the shul in terms of governing the shul and so on, and it's not something we encourage. At the same time, for there to be knowledgeable, there are plenty of knowledgeable women that teach Saras Mishpacha, that teach Kalas and that give refresher courses, and they're teaching women, and they usually know enough to give over clear psak. And if there's anything they don't know, they will consult with whoever they consult with. A woman that understands that is fine. I think it should be very much encouraged that there be a capable Rebbetzin on hand that can deal with women who do not want to speak to the rabbi about these things, and that's very nice. I think it's a very nice thing. They also feel that a woman will understand them better, the various sensitivities, and they're right at that. You're going to ask me, why wasn't it that way in the olden days? So first of all, I'm not sure. Although women did come to Rabbanim, plenty of Rebbetzins were involved. I don't see any problem with it. So in terms of the Yoatzot and this whole new movement for Yoatzot, because of the just of where it's coming from and the nature of the training they get, I'm not excited about it. The concept of having a woman there, call her whatever you want. I prefer calling her the Rebbetzin. I think is an excellent idea. And yes, it should be available in every community, certainly in every Kiruv community, and in a shul for sure. Okay.
So, Rav Rukowitz?
Yes.
I'm a little confused. On the one side, you're saying it's a good idea. The other side, you're saying the training that they're getting is not so adequate. So practically, to use them, we're using women that you feel...
Them. What I'm saying is use the Rebbetzins.
I mean, the concept is good.
Yes.
But the ones who are called Yoatzot, where you're not so comfortable with the training they're getting, better not to use.
Right.
So we should make sure that our Rebbetzins, or at least some Rebbetzins in the branch, are qualified to actually do it properly.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. The Rambam seems to say that clarity on the Yud Gimel Ikrim is a prerequisite to get Olam Haba, whereas mitzvah is done without this awareness from a game one place in Olam Haba. Number one, is that an accurate understanding of the Rambam? Is accepted view in Halacha L'Maisa. It is an accurate understanding of the Rambam. As far as Halacha L'Maisa, I brought this up before, and that is we do not have a Shulchan Aruch for Hashkafa, which is very, very problematic. In terms of the Yud Gimel Ikarim, there are so many different shittas in what are the Ikarim. We generally, like the default position in everything is we go with the Rambam, but we should know every one of them. There are so many different shittas, as well as different shittas of how many Ikarim there really are. Let's say we more or less universally accept that the Rambam's Yud Gimel Ikarim are the Ikar, and they are prerequisites. As far as Olam Haba is concerned, that's Poshut Pshat in the Rambam, where the Rambam holds that a Tinnik Shenishba in Deis still will not earn himself an Olam Haba. But we know that there are different opinions in that as well. In terms of a Jew that knows he should believe but has chosen not to, correct, the Rambam would say that he's an Ein Lo Chelik B'Olam Haba, and his mitzvahs are not mitzvahs. If so, shouldn't we be focusing much more on this in our Kiruv efforts? So first of all, we are. Meaning, we don't believe that the approach is to get people to do mitzvahs before they understand, number one, that Hashem is the creator, sustainer, and we understand that they understand that Torah is min hashamayim, Torah shebiksav, Torah shebal peh, which essentially covers most of the Yud Gimel Ikrim in one way or another. We don't believe in getting people to do mitzvahs before that. We believe that Emunah is a prerequisite, which is why so much of our Kiruv is focused on Emunah rather than on getting people to do mitzvahs. That's traditionally been our thing. Agav, in Chabad, the approach has been just the opposite, and they have a whole shita. In Chabad, their ikar thing is to get Jews to do mitzvahs. Yeah, let everyone put on tefillin. So I remember this as a kid. They used to come around Shavuos time. The Chabad Shlichim used to come around to all the shuls in New York on Shavuos in honor of David HaMelech's yahrzeit, and they would give shiurim. And I asked the shliach, what do you gain by putting tefillin on somebody that's not a maimin? And what he told me is what I later learned is basic Ashkaf and Chabad. Every Jew is a maimin. Every Jew's a maimin. Their claim is that everyone's a maimin. Yeah, there were Rishonim here, there, but they're not around. Every Jew is a maimin, really. They're just playing games with themselves because they don't want to have to do mitzvahs. So there we differ drastically. In other words, we teach emunah before we teach kiyum mitzvahs. And they believe in kiyum mitzvahs coming first. I understand that the focus in this question is that we should really have classes in all of the Yud Gimel Ikrim. Then again, no, it's being phrased, especially since there would probably be much less resistance to changing a secular Jew's hashkafa and his lifestyle. So the question is, what should we be teaching people new to Yiddishkeit? I will once again state what I believe in very strongly, which is that I think at this point, in the history and destiny of Klal Yisrael, where we are today, I really think our goal should be to make every single Jew a Maimon. Again, a Maimon believing in Hashem as creator and sustainer. It means Hashkalcha. That every Jew believed that there was a Maimon Har Sinai, where we received Torah Shebiksav and Torah Shebal Peh, and it is all divine. Of course, what goes along with that is everything that Torah is Machayev, which means that there is free will. We are never forced to do anything. Therefore, there is Charvonish, and so on and so forth. We do not have to spend the time convincing people that there's an afterlife in the early stages. We definitely have to make them maminim in Hashem and maminim in the Torah. I believe that should be our first priority. Getting every Jew to be a Maimon, regardless of what he's ready to keep. Once we're there, we can talk about if people are prepared for more, of course you don't stop there. But the first thing is to get all of Klal Yisrael to be Maminim. I really think that has to be our focus. This has to be this. We really have to work through a clear strategy for getting every Jew to be a Maimon. And yes, it's a lot easier, you can say, than get every Jew to be Shomer Shabbos. I'm not looking for an easy way out. Nobody's focusing on getting every Jew to be a Shomer Shabbos. What people are focusing on is getting as many people to be Shomer Shabbos as possible. And basically, the way things are going today is the people focusing on Shmir Shabbos are running into a lack of means, meaning a lack of manpower, a lack of the financial means to really make a major difference. Because what it takes to be Shomer, to get someone to be Shomer Shabbos is lots of time and lots of manpower. And as a result of it, although the results are heartwarming, a major dent in Klal Yisrael has not been made. That's what Rav Noach was looking for all the years. It hasn't happened yet. And it's very clear that to make that major dent, we've got to get every Jew to be a Maimon. And of course, part of that is to be proud to be a Jew, engaged in learning, being proud to be a Jew, and wanting to marry Jewish.
Can Rav Berkowitz?
Sorry, how does Rav Berkowitz understand that a lot of times to get someone to be a Maimon, you need experiential and mitzvos. In other words, it isn't just intellectual. In other words, even as a hemshech to it, what does Rav Berkowitz see as the mix to get him to be a Maimon?
Yeah, I don't think we have the final answer yet. I think we have to do a lot of experimentation. I have definitely seen that in this day and age, people do not have the attention span to really, really make major life changes on the basis of a class because they couldn't pay attention to enough of the class for really to have that much of an effect on them. It's the rare individual that really can get it that way. Experiential classes, relevant classes, meaning classes dealing with issues that are bothering them, and that does hold their attention. And it's something experiential. These things definitely speak louder, but I really feel we have to do a lot of R&D. We have to do a lot of experimentation and see what speaks to whom.
But mitzvos are part of that as well. Mitzvos are also experiential in terms of someone to be a Maimon. In other words, It doesn't go just on one level. I think it goes on
but that's part of the means. That's not part of the goal, it's part of the means. There's a very big difference when you're teaching mitzvahs as a means than when you're teaching mitzvahs as a goal. We are not going to have people stand on line and wrap tefillin around them and think that that's going to turn them into maminim.
But in other words, I think it needs to be presented as a hemshech, as a means to Amunah. It's a very important means to Amunah.
I mean, part of the Amunah is a living relationship with Hashem. You know, we're not talking about this theoretical thing. It's got to be a living relationship with Hashem. Hashem is part of one's life. The question was, we have no structure for the ROE. We do not have the structure. That is first priority. That is first priority. We have to establish it, but in an effective way. In an effective way, and I believe that Reb Noach always saw the branches. He saw the branches as a lab. The Beis Medrash on one level, but also the branches. The Beis Medrash is not the same because you're on your own turf, whereas the branches all over the place are a great place to be a real lab for trying out whatever it is that we think may work. And then today I'm talking to lots of walls. I'm not talking about within the organization. I'm talking about people with money that are pouring lots of money into Kiruv. And I keep asking them the question if they would ever invest that kind of money in business without doing ample research. Nobody does. Nobody makes a major investment today without research. Why are people pouring tens of millions of dollars into Kiruv and have not done any research to see, is it working, is it not working, what could do better, and so on. And because of that, there's a highly inefficient, right now what's going on in Kiruv is terribly inefficient. I just don't understand how business people stand up for it. I just don't get it. There has to be a major study of what's working, what isn't working, experiment with new ideas, try them out. I've been in touch with professional researchers. One actually that Joel Padowitz got me in touch with, who's ready to do it. If someone will finance it, and it's not even that expensive relative to the amount of money that's done that's poured into Kiruv. But that's definitely something. If no one else does it, then we're going to have to find some way of raising the money and have it done within Aish. This really should be something that done by people that are pouring big money into Kiruv. Okay.
So in terms of the 13, is it Kedai to actually teach all 13 with second level students?
I'm not sure. You start getting into details. You start getting caught up in details. I believe that all 13 will come out in eventual classes, in different things that you're going to be learning. I don't think that there should be an organized 13 Ikarim class. I don't think that that's what people want to hear. I don't think so. Certainly the packaging of Yud Gimel Ikarim is not going to work. I'm very skeptical of that working today. That doesn't sound like the kind of thing that people are interested in hearing. Especially if what you do, we're talking about reaching the masses. People are disinterested. People that have absolutely, they're not sure, or on the contrary, but they're not sure if they want to identify Jewish. So the way to get them is these are the 13 dogmas of Judaism. I don't think that's what we want to do.
I'm saying for second level students.
Even second level students that want to study, I think it's much more important to get them to internalize Judaism than to sit and argue over the nitty gritty of the 13 Ikarim. I definitely believe that we have to keep in mind the Yud Gimel Ikarim when we give over our hashkafa, to make sure that it's included, not necessarily formally, but that it's really included there. And I believe that it is.
Can I just mention that? Isn't it somewhat true that Rebbe mentioned that the Rav Noach looked at the branches being opportunities for R&D? Couldn't a person argue a little bit the opposite, that there's been years and years and years of experience of people doing Kiruv, trying to be Mefora people, trying to get people to become people who believe in Hashem and Torah, and we have a lot of experience. So we know that some of the things that Simcha Barnett mentioned, that we know that you can't just teach people it's, oh, hey, there's a bria to recovery terrorist. You need a lot of relationship. You need Shabbos. You need to bring them to the coastal and to put someone on when they're at the coastal to move them. And we have tremendous amount of experience of what does work and what doesn't work from all the R&D that has been done over the last 25 years. Yes, times are changing, so things are new. But, there's 2 points that I sort of want to make. One is that, in order to get people to be Ma'aminim, I think we do understand that you need a lot more than just giving people HP, Hashgacha practice. You need to give them a lot more to get people to even become Ma'aminim. You need a relationship. You need all those experiences, A. And B, that isn't it. Obviously, I'm not disagreeing that we should be doing R&D. Of course, we should be. But to sort of almost dismiss it that there is no R&D, isn't that what the whole Kiruv movement has been over the last, X number of years? That we have a sort of a combined experience of what we see and believe does work and doesn't work. And the problem is that it's still very difficult, even despite that, all of that understanding and collective learning.
I would like to disagree on one account. I don't like disagreeing, but I believe that the founding fathers of the Kiruv movement put together a curriculum. It's been tried successfully. It was tried successfully in the early years. It was very, very successful. It's been modified one way or another, but the generations have changed so much. Nobody has really sat down to put together something extensive in terms of a combination of the material being used, the kinds of settings that have to be used, the kinds of relationships, the strategy in getting people through the door and getting them to the next step and the next step and the next step. People have been sort of organically doing it, which is precisely what the world doesn't do today. The world does believe that research is much more efficient. I don't think there are that many new ideas that have come up. It's just rehashing. It's repackaging a lot of the old stuff. And in this day and age, it does not speak to the Fry people that well. Once again, because they do not. We just can't get them. They're too busy, and they do not have the ability to focus and sit and listen to things for a long time. I find that so much of what we're doing, and I've spoken to I've spoken to people in the other Kiruv organizations, and they have their flagship programs, and they admit that they're not working anymore, and they're looking for something else, but they've never invested in the research for it. They agree that they're just not doing it. The Maimonides programs are not doing that great anymore. What used to interest people doesn't anymore. There's a real need for trying new ideas, experimenting with new ideas, and having it done in a scientific way. And I believe, as far as research is concerned, if so long as the research is being done by professors that don't understand Kiruv, obviously they're not going to know how to interpret whatever they're getting. It has to be done by people that understand it from the inside. And at this point in time, we actually have such people. There are professionals that are Baalei Tshuva themselves that went through the process, and they know what it's about. They really understand it. So I really, really think that we have to have number one. We have to have the first part of I'd say we need DNR. We need development. We have to come up with new ideas, and then we need the research of both practicing and having it done on enough people and different populations, so that we can really analyze what works for what kind of person. Obviously everyone is a yachid, and the personal relationship cannot be substituted. But nevertheless, there are things that bring people in, and there are things that really turn people around. I mean, that's precisely what Rav Noach did. He created a Yesh Me'ayin, and I don't think there's been a Yesh Me'ayin since then. Since then, everyone's just, trying to repackage what Rav Noach put together. And we haven't done that successfully yet for today's day and age. Okay. Number 4.
Rav Berkowitz.
Yes.
This is Michal Zalman Dubov speaking. Sorry. I wanted to know, didn't Rav Daniel Katz, who carries your Askama, didn't he rebrand in a certain sense for this generation and really with a great pizzazz display Judaism in a new way?
There's a question about him later in this list.
Okay. We'll wait.
I believe that in terms of the experiential, he has something very much to offer. What I spoke to him about was, and he knows very much. I've told him this many times. I want him to focus on the program and not his own talents. I do not want this to be a one-man show. I really, really believe that he can help with putting together a possible curriculum of getting people the experiential side of Judaism. Right now, what does it more than anything else, it's his charisma. The materials are powerful, but his charisma plays a major role. And the way he does things, which some people really go crazy over and others are offended by, which is what one of the later questions involves. But I spoke to him about working through. It was because of me that he actually wrote up a curriculum, I've spoken to him about making this curriculum available, that we have people trained to do it, with other input as well, because he definitely has something in terms of the experiential. Okay. Many offices, both in Yerushalayim as well in the branches of men and women working together. Sometimes working stations can be in close proximity, or open plan may allow for greater work interaction. This is just tznius may arise. Some guidelines. Yeah. Some guidelines. Yeah, men and women often have to work together. This is true in any organization and today in many businesses. What has to be established is a relationship that is a working one alone. In other words, nothing personal. It's very important. It's very, very important. I mean, we established these guidelines years ago in Aish. I don't know if anyone followed up on it, but it's got to be, that it's not the men and women discussing their families and how this one's feeling and how that one's feeling. And I know it's not so polite, but it's for the sake of tznius, and no one is really taking it as being rude. Similarly, yes, you can have a sense of humor. I think it's very important that people do have a good laugh once in a while, especially when you work for Aish, so you're always under pressure. But the atmosphere should not be lightheaded. There should be a certain sense of responsibility. We're working for Kiddush Shem Shemayim. We're working for Hashem here, and as a result of it, men and women have to understand that we're not here for a social gathering, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. It very often is dependent on a combination of the personalities that are involved as well as the hashkafa of people involved. Sometimes when you hire non-frum people, you have an easier time getting them to keep to the standards than you will when you're dealing with Orthodox people that have different standards. Doesn't sound so good, but often that's true. So the basic idea is that it should be the relationship should clearly be a working one. It should be businesslike, not a personal relationship. And this is across the board. This is for all of what goes on in the workplace. Certainly in an organization where people are living in serious nefesh to be Mekadosh Shem Shemayim.
Would there be a strong hakpada to not use first names?
I believe that we should be going with that. To other people say that, for example, in Kirov you can't do that. It's weird.
I'm saying towards our colleagues,
but in terms of colleagues,
secretary.
You can make that a policy. That's such a strong statement. People feel weird and awkward. If you let people know that it's for the sake of protecting tznius, I think they should understand it. Okay. 5. After learning with students and cultivating a relationship, we took Eitzah and were advised not to tell them outright that they're not Jewish. You know, think that they and their children are. It's been 3+ years now. When and how shall they find out this information? Find out this information. Are the general guidelines for when and how to tell? When they're ready to hear it. When they're just not, if you're going to tell them to be yotze the chiyuv of telling them, but they're going to look at you like you're coming from the moon, then you haven't told them. It's when they're capable of understanding it. They're capable of understanding it and dealing with it. And not just brushing it off as, I guess you're one of those fanatics.
Berkowitz, though, what happens if you know that their son, someone's going to marry their daughter, and the daughter's not halakhically Jewish, and you know it's a Jewish family that's marrying in, what do you do?
And they don't have a clue.
You say you're Jewish, and that's about as. I always ask people, I'm a kid's going, are they Jewish? Yeah, they're Jewish.
Once again,
they have no clue how much research you have to, and they say yes, they're Jewish, and it's a conservative conversion. I mean, people have no clue what it means to be Jewish these days.
Yeah. So again, even if they're about to get married, if by telling them you will accomplish nothing, they're getting married anyway. If by telling them they're just not going to take you seriously, so why tell them? You're not telling them. All you do is make a fool. All you do is making yourself irrelevant.
Roberto, can I ask you a question? So in Detroit, we have a situation where people come in. We don't have to tell them if they're Jewish or not. We don't necessarily ask. But let's say someone wants to come to our Sunday school. In the past, we didn't say anything, and then we would wait a few years, and then eventually when there come time for bar mitzvah, we would say something, and it would be very problematic. So we've adopted a policy when it comes to Sunday school that we interview them, and if we see that they're not Jewish, we ask them on every one of our camp applications and Sunday school applications. But since when people come to Aish and they come to Sunday school, they expect to be bar bas mitzvah by you, it would be unfair to them, and Chilul Hashem, if we were to wait till they're in 4th grade to say, by the way, we can't bar mitzvah you, we can't bas mitzvah you. So right away when they come in, we say, Aish is very welcoming. We will treat you like everybody else. We want you to come here, but we want you to understand that we are a halachic organization, and halachically Judaism follows the mother, and therefore we will not be able to do a bar mitzvah or a bas mitzvah for your children unless you also choose to convert halachically. And you don't have to decide now. You could decide in 3rd grade or 4th grade. And over the last 10 years, the conversation has always gone fine. And some people just leave right then, and no problem, they're goyim. And some people will come back, will stay for 3-4 years and leave after 3rd or 4th grade. And 1 or 2 times they'll stay all the way to 7th grade, and then we'll say, sorry, we can't do the bar mitzvah, we can't do the bas mitzvah. And they knew the whole time, we warned them the whole time, and they're fine with it. But that beats the alternative of not telling them until the last minute.
Yeah, I don't think that everyone's got the same situation as you. Not every age branch deals with bar and bas mitzvahs. Not every age branch is servicing the family over the years. You're talking about people that you're getting to know, and they're dropping in for classes here and there and come to events. But it's not like that you become part of their life cycle.
So I guess as a principle, any Mekarev who's going to become the Rav of this family and eventually going to be called upon to do a life cycle event, be it a bris, a bar mitzvah, or a wedding, the earlier they let it be known their status vis-a-vis you, the less Chilul Hashem and the less awkward it will be.
I agree if they're going to call upon you for that. It doesn't sound like from the question that the rabbi here is going to be called upon to officiate at the wedding. If that would be the case.
No, and for JWRP families, this is an impossibility. The trouble we've been having, and the reason we don't do it, is because we will kill the program. Because once it starts circulating, we're playing the game of who's a Jew, we'll be shunned, and it's going to affect Lori across the globe. It'll be like a big controversy, and so everybody's been playing the game of just being really quiet about it. We know what's going on. We try to recruit without saying anything why we can't take certain people. It's being done very hush hush, but we can never come out. But now, what do you do when finally something of import, like someone marrying someone who they think is Jewish and is not, can we stand by? And once we do say something, it's going to have, we think it's going to have a big effect.
I think you should only say something if you believe that they're going to accept it and do something about it. If they're not going to, if all they're going to do is take it as you're being, as you're being a fanatic or something, but they're not going, it won't mean anything to them anyway. Why are you saying it? You're not officiating it. You're not officiating
Right.
it.
No.
So I don't think you should get involved unless you can get involved. And can get involved means that they're going to take what you say seriously.
So we should allow intermarriages to happen because if we don't get involved, because they're not going to care anyway.
If they're getting married anyway, what do you accomplish by telling them? They're not going to.
Well, if you tell them when they're dating, or you tell them right at the beginning, maybe you can stop an intermarriage. If you tell the other family, the Jewish family.
If you can, then do that, but you got to be very careful because people don't keep secrets. And where's the other family holder? Who are they? Are they going to take you seriously? Or are they just going to let everybody know that you're irrelevant? You know, we don't believe in kanos, l'shem kanos. There's got to be an accomplishment here. And the question is, are you going to accomplish anything by just speaking up?
That I understand, but this could be classified as kanos.
But no, the way it's being described is how can you let it intermarry? Well, it's going to happen anyway, whether you tell them or not. Well, the only difference is whether or not you're going to be relevant to them.
Mm-hmm.
So why sacrifice that?
Roberto, isn't it true the Chofetz Chaim writes for someone that's mefurish in the Torah that we have a chiyuv macha even if they're not going to listen, as long as we don't make a chil Hashem?
The reason, if you look at the Mishnah Berurah, the Mishnah Berurah says clearly that the reason for that is because the person is a vadai mezi. In other words, there's an assumption that everybody knows that it's us for him to do it. In the case of anyone that thinks they're Jewish when they're not mezidus. I don't think there's a problem. I don't think there's an issue here of mutar sheshogin. That's not the head. Because they're not going to become Mezidim later. They're not going to take you seriously anyhow. I think the issue is just don't make yourself irrelevant if you're not accomplishing anything anyway.
I mean, this is weird, but isn't a person already irrelevant when they're teaching a goy Torah?
No. When I say irrelevant, I'm talking about irrelevant in the community.
So the fear that
JWRP and word's gonna get out that these JWRP people are busy questioning people's Judaism.
Is it not a known thing that Orthodox Jews have standards for what it means to be Jewish?
JWRP presents itself as a non-denominational organization.
Oh, I didn't know the question was limited to JWRP. Sorry.
In the case of anybody else, if you're Orthodox, people may or may not know that it applies to them. They don't know that their situation is something that Orthodoxy would not recognize. They don't know it. It really depends on the circumstances. If you're going to be involved in their life cycle, the earlier you tell them, the better, because it's going to be terribly awkward. Terribly awkward.
How does it work, let's say, in an organization like Aish HaTorah or any place where donors' money is being used, and in a certain sense, this person is
in the case of where you're running a large kiruv operation, they understand that part. In order for it to be effective, money is going to be spent on all kinds of things, including, not excluding the non-Jews at times.
Is it possible though that let's say with R&D that it could be that Adarabah, we don't have to be as scared as that, and it could be that by just saying who we are outright, not aggressively, but somebody comes into program. Like I learned with somebody whose daughter got married to somebody not Jewish, and he said, and we're very close. I learn with him every week. He knows I don't consider them Jewish, but I know he knows that they don't consider him Jewish. But it's not a problem because it's very clear. Sometimes hiding things might just be worse.
Yes and no. It depends on the operation you are running and whom you are working with.
And this is a 55-year-old, no shaykhs to Sunday school. This is the executive learning. This is a donor.
Doesn't make a difference. It depends whom you're working with. It depends what kind of organization you run. I believe people that come to you understand that you're Orthodox from beginning to end. They know that they're coming to an Orthodox institution. I believe that it's very clear. That is not the situation when you're dealing with major kiruv efforts in different places, where they're where they're going down there to the, they're running out there to the most left wing there are, and people that know nothing except that Orthodox rabbis are bigger, and you're just going to be reinforcing that. And word is going to get out that you're irrelevant.
Can we say it's
stop an intermarriage is one thing, but if you're not going to stop it anyway, what's the mitzvah of are you one of those that believes that there's a chiyuv to make a machal, even if what's that is doing?
I one time heard from the Shem of Yashav, and it was a long time ago, and I don't know how relevant it is, that the frontline kiruv guys have a responsibility to keep like a sefer yochsin. At the end of the day, if somebody calls me in 20 years, say, oh yeah, their father learned with Rabbi Tolwin, and there's a certain. I don't know if people. Anyway, every community is different. But I don't know if people are that offended by total. Everybody has an opinion now.
Simcha, if you're going there, I hope Rabbi Berkowitz doesn't mind my saying I have a situation here where I believe very, very strongly, and it's Eisgehalten that there were two mamzerim born here 36 years ago. They moved to Yerushalayim, became part of the Yerushalayim community, I think maybe even part of the Shatar community, and I knew their story, and I looked into it. I couldn't find any heter for them not to be mamzerim. I went to Rabbi Yashiv, and I had to wait for Rabbi Yashiv, so Rabbi David Morgenstern was outside. So I know him from when he was in Yeshivas HaNegev. I asked him, I said, I need to ask the Rav Shai. He said, you don't have to. He said, I'm telling you, the Rav holds you shouldn't publicize it.
It's a special halach in mamzeris. Special halach in mamzeris. The halacha is that midoraisa, it's got to be a mamzer vadai, and so long as it's not known, and there's no doraisa involved, and you're better off, and most posts can hold, you're better off not publicizing it.
It was a mamzer vadai, but it wasn't known.
It wasn't known. When it's not known, when it's not known, the poskim across the board say not to bring it up.
Okay, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay.
Reb Berkowitz, this is last thing on Gerim. So someone had an idea that when this guy wrote this book, The Bamboo Cradle, one idea was he's explaining that this Oriental girl who's walking around Jerusalem is from. It was a calling card. She is from. So I'm just wondering if you had inspirational people who converted. There's a whole group of people like that are on the lecture circuit, and how they found their way. Is that a way to explain to the JWRP crowd, men and women, a backhanded way to explain what it means to convert? Or is that a hot potato?
I listen, unless someone does it, we won't know for sure, but I'd be surprised if that wouldn't create a commotion.
What do you mean?
People are so liberal. They're just, anything of the sort, it presses all the wrong buttons in there. It's a very tricky world. We're tiptoeing around everybody.
No, so you're saying if a person comes and tells how their conversion story, you don't think people are going to put two and two together and say, oh, you mean you have to keep Torah, you have to keep Shabbos to convert? Because the person will say, like, what it's like to keep Shabbos. Oh, they think, oh, well, that's how they converted.
I understand, but I think if there's any such insinuation, then people are not going to take it well. That's what I think. But you can try experimenting, not at the expense of JWRP though. Yeah, number 6. Wow, it's getting late. The Rambam in Hilchos Shuva states, "Ein Yisrael Negal Ella B'Tshuva," that there's a haftacha that the Jewish people will do tshuva at the end of Golus, after which miyad hein negalim. This seems to imply the whole Jewish people will first do tshuva l'chor before Mashiach comes, and only after that the Jewish people will then be redeemed back to Eretz Yisrael, etc. Is that correct understanding? That is the pashtus. Is this a source that we can bring all of Klal Yisrael back to Torah since there's a haftacha that this will happen? Absolutely. Rav Wolbe used to say the Makarvim are the shluchim of Mashiach. Are there any sources we know that can bring back all of Klal Yisrael? I know I've been asked that many times. I mean, every time I present my idea, every time I present the Aish idea that we're targeting all of Klal Yisrael, so people say, "Oh, that's presumptuous." That's presumptuous. Whoever brought back all of Klal Yisrael. So I refer them back to the Navi. I refer them back to Tanakh. Come on, it was done many times. Chizkiyahu did it. Yoshio did it. Nehemiah did it. So again, they say it's presumptuous. You think you can do it? Yeah, there are lots of sources that it can be done. And there's the haftacha. It's going to have to happen. The only difference is who's going to be left? Who will be the Jewish people that are going to do tshuva? In Mitzrayim we lost 80%. Who knows, chas v'shalom, what we're going to lose this time? And second,
you mean physically we might?
And second,
we're going to lose people. Is that what you mean by?
Who knows? Who knows? I brought up Nasrallah. Who knows? Who knows? And the other part of it is, will we ever? What are we going to answer for? Where were we? Where were we? We saw what was going on. What did we do? And that Chazal are very clear about. And the tzaddikim end up having greater responsibility than the people who don't know. They're in Yechezkel's day more than the Rishoyim. Yeah.
So Rabbi Berkowitz is saying that those people that are trying to be makar of people to bring them back to Shmiras, Shabbos and so forth, and are arguing just save as many as you can, also do feel that they're standing up in a time of, Asa trying to do something. The question is do we have a source that we really can and therefore should bring everybody back? So the source from the Rambam is one example. Is Rebecca saying you think that's the best source? Or because people are coming to Rebecca saying, you're presumptuous, you can do the same. So is Rebecca's answer really, is this Rambam the best answer?
The Rambam, the Chumash, yeah, the Rambam brings the Psukim. Psukim say it's going to happen. Psukim say it's going to happen. Yeah, the question is, who's going to be included? People who don't identify Jewish, are they also going to be included? Who's going to be left? I've heard people say yes, the oil matur is going to be left. And that's what we have to concentrate on. Everyone else is going to be gone. You want to be makar of someone? If you make him into a yeshiva man, you've saved him. Because the oil matur is the only thing that's going to be left. Yep.
But isn't
okay with
the case,
that? You're okay with that? You're happy with it?
Everybody's going to do tshuva. Doesn't that mean a yid is a yid? So everybody's going to tshuva. Tshuva means that this guy who's not from is me. That Klal Yisrael will do tshuva. Otherwise, what does it mean?
We understand that there are people that are lost. There are people that are lost. There are people over the generations that we lost. There's so many yidden that we lost over the generations. They're no longer part of the Jewish nation.
So then you can just that's 90% of Klal Yisrael say, oh, then maybe they're right. Then maybe this the Shomer Shabbos people, those are the ones that Rambam are referring to. Rav Berkowitz is saying that maybe
what I'm saying is, all right, so you're at peace with that? You're ready to give up on everybody else? You don't mind if we lose him? Let them go. Are they Jewish people? People talk like that. Yeah, people talk like that.
Yeah, but then a person could quite rightly say, yeah, if I can get someone to become Shomer Shabbos, that's what I think my best shot is. That's the most powerful thing to do, and that's what we could do, because the book was just opened up a Pandora's box of why you don't have to bring everybody back, because this Rambam does not mean that everybody should come back. It means that it could mean, because we've lost people over the generations, this Rambam just means people who are basically coming to be from, but it may not mean that everybody should come back. So we don't have a big cloud at this point.
I believe that people that are willing to identify as Jewish stand a chance. People that are not, I'd be surprised.
Mm-hmm. So Rabbi is saying that, in his understanding, is that not necessarily, it may be that we will lose. There is no source that everybody will come back. It could be that we will lose the vast majority of people, and therefore there is no makor that we have to, that we can't even bring everybody back. That's what I'm hearing.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's been done in Klal Yisrael before. That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do, and that's the achrayus. You know, Yoshio's Alayla Hakim. We still have it today. It's for everybody. The Chavetz Chaim said it. You know, we've got to do it. It's our achrayus. Okay. This past Emunah Day on January 13th, East Jerusalem brought in Rav Daniel Katz to speak. This year it seemed that he did hypnosis to women, which is a separate topic on its own. But during that session, he asked the women to look and ask for a certain tzaddik or tzaddikas to connect to their neshama, speak with them, and ask to give guidance. Oh, right, okay. The whole business. I definitely feel that we have to be a little more careful. Not only, I mean, we're okay with the people we get to speak generally, but we also have to be a little more careful in going through with them what they're going to say. I do think it's very important. I think it's very, very important. Daniel Katz plays a very important role in that he gives people an experience. You know, at the same time, he's not, a bar hachi to decide what it is that should or shouldn't be taught. His chinuch is a collection of things he got from all over the place. Yeah, there are Hasidus that teach this. That's certainly not what we're into. Not into is a small thing. There are those that would call this Avodah Zarah or something. This is not what we're into at all, and it should not be taught. It should not be taught certainly under the auspices of Eish. At the same time, I think Daniel Katz is a very important player. I do think it's very important to go through with him what he's going to teach. To ask for an outline on what is it that he's going to teach. I think this is true. We have other very, very, very good teachers that don't exactly have our entire hashkafa, or that just don't have much of a background. And they teach things in classes that are not what we believe in, to say the least. We really have to have a clear class outline from every teacher. I'm not talking about Rebbeinu and Medrash. I'm talking for any teacher, someone who's teaching on a program, or essentials for that matter. I think it's a very important thing to really be on top of it.
Rav Berkowitz?
Yeah?
This might be a small distinction, and it might only have applied to this one event. But Emunah Day was not a program of Eish Torah. It was a separate organization came in and rented our building and used our building.
Really?
It was not an Eish, to the best of my knowledge, it was not an Eish Torah event. So do we have achrayus in that situation? I'm sorry?
I saw the advertisement. I was sure it was an
I don't know that you know, our logo on the advertisement was, it was a completely separate organization, to the best of my knowledge.
We certainly looked like a co-sponsor, though. It looked like it was.
That's a separate thing, because I don't know that was done with. Let's say it was, for the sake of this argument. Let's say Emunah Day was not an Aish HaTorah program, and it was being held though in the Aish HaTorah World Center. And let's say Daniel Katz wants to come and hold his own seminar. Is that a different question? And he can talk to any tzaddikim and tzaddikises that he'd like. Do we allow that?
I mean, we have worse things going on in the building.
So so then if it's not our program, something that goes on in our building, we don't need to have that level. We don't need that level hush.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. I mean, I've heard statements quoted from classes and essentials, you know, that really should not be said. Not understood. You know, I've been shocked at the same time. The teachers are great, and what they were hired to teach, very powerful. Why they threw in their own stuff over there, I don't know. And really, people have to be on top of it. Okay. Number eight. For 48 years, there has never been a woman lecturer in Essentials. It seems that this principle of Aish, that women should not speak in front of men, has now been changed. Is this true? And if so, why is it necessary? Especially since Essentials usually has a lot of students, doesn't need a woman speaker to draw in more traffic. Now, in terms of, you know, the actual decision of why a woman should be involved in that or not, you know, strategically, I really wasn't part of the strategic decision. I'm not sure who it is that drops into Essentials today. I hope it's not the kind of people that we were having in recent years, where the majority are actually frum, with lots of SEM girls dropping in too. As far as women teaching men, I went through the sugya at length with Rav Noah Zichrono Livracha. In those days, we had women teaching discovery. And the guidelines we came up with was that a woman should not be teaching a provocative class. Fail-safe 5, for example. You know, it was a woman should not, and that the woman should be tznuah and not a performer. Those were the two conditions. When I was asked if it was mutter with regard to Essentials, I restated those two very same conditions that Reb Noach was the one that decided on. You know, in terms of whether or not that's in place for Essentials, that's really a strategic question rather than a tznius question. And once again, I'm not sure who's coming into Essentials, and I would very much want Essentials. You know, we all agree that Essentials should be feeding the yeshiva. I would want Essentials to attract the kind of people that we would want fed to the yeshiva. And then we'll have to decide whether or not it's important to have a woman teacher there too.
What's a provocative class mean?
A class where people are really being challenged, like, it's dramatic, and this is it, and she's extremely outspoken, and people are cringing or whatever it is. As opposed to discussing something nice about Judaism. Is she really confronting them in a powerful way?
Is this the same guideline for Aish Jerusalem as for the branches? Or is there a different level in Jerusalem?
I believe it should be the same for the branches. I understand that the definition of a performance is probably different in Jerusalem than elsewhere. I believe that what we would call a performance here in Chutz La'aretz is nothing. Everything is so much more dramatic there. Okay, now it's getting late. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to end in another 2 minutes. Maybe let's do number 9, if I remember correctly. Yeah, yes, Ramosha said if you don't daven a minyan, it's questionable. Yeah, yes. This is a halacha shaila, and yes, what everyone says over in the name of the Chazon Ish is that if you start davening Shmona Esrei at a time that there's still someone davening Shmona Esrei that started while the tzibur was still davening Shmona Esrei, it's still called Tefillah B'tzibur.
Even if only one person is still davening?
You can have a chain going from Nates till Sosman Tefillah, and it's still Tefillah B'tzibur. According to the this is what they say B'Shem the Chazon Ish, that if somebody that started with the tzibur davened a little longer and then someone else walked in, he now continues the tefillah b'tzibur. If you walk in while this other person is still davening, it's still b'tzibur for you, and someone else walks in, he can be mitzaref with you, who is a continuation of the tefillah b'tzibur.
Even a single person.
Yeah, they say this in the name of the Chazon Ish, and in Yerushalayim, people rely on this lichat tefillah.
My sons learned this in yeshiva. That's for sure. They taught me this a lot.
Okay.
Is that the halacha? Is that the halacha?
This is what's makubal. Although the Chazon Ish is the first source to such a thing, that's what's makubal.
I thought that Rav Moshe held as long as you step in when the 10 people are there, then that's called Tefillah B'tzibur.
That's what he sounds like. That's what he sounds like. And the Chazon Ish went a lot further than that, which is what people are knowing today.
If you step in when 10 people are still davening, then for sure it's okay?
Yes. That means to create Tefillah B'tzibur, the Mishnah Berurah says 10 people have to start ovals together. Have to start the first bracha together. But once you have Tefillah B'tzibur, if the tzibur is still davening, for sure that's Tefillah B'tzibur. And then we have the extension of the Chazon Ish.
Is that even if the Chazor Sashat started?
Yeah. Even if it's finished.
But there's 10 people still davening.
According to the Chazon Ish, you don't need 10 people still davening. All you need is one person still davening who davened at a time that someone else was davening who, if all the way back up. It all started with the Tefillah.
Is that preferable to waiting to say it along with the Shliach Tzibur? If I'm ever by any chance late, I'll daven Shmona Esrei with the Shliach Tzibur, with the Chazon.
You're better off with the Shliach Tzibur if you can keep up with him.
Usually you could be to the Amen and Baruch Shemayis, you could keep up.
Okay.
So you're better off with the Shliach Tzibur than attaching yourself to one person still davening, a few people still davening.
That's definitely 8 Tefillah B'tzibur. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I must end now. So I guess we'll put the 10 and 11 sometime for next month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.